Let's talk wontons. I know many people enjoy wontons, so coming up next, we're going to take a look at my take on a beef wonton noodle soup. This is an incredible dish. A lot of work will go into it, and it's going to be worth it. Now, I got to tell you, I learned so much information. I didn't know this dated back to the 7th and 8th centuries. Wontons evidently are a big global food. I have to say that if you're into reading, get a couple cups of coffee. These are some websites I recommend for some great resources all about wontons. The history of wontons alone is fascinating reading. So I have written a 2-part recipe, so we're working with a filling for the wonton. As you can see, these ingredients are very easily found. Now, if you do have an Asian market, you may have some luck. They may have wonton wrappers there for you, but not all is lost if they don't. You can do an egg yolk pasta dough, and all you have to do is stretch it out and cut it with a round cutter to make your own wrappers. Now, the flip side is the noodle soup recipe portion. Keep in mind you have decision making. You can either use egg noodles or vermicelli, or not at all. You can use MSG or kosher salt. Entirely your decision. Black vinegar and Shaoxing wine are not interchangeable. They're not really ingredients you can find equal to other things. They are available online, and I gotta say, mise en place, having all the ingredients together, it's really a must. A lot of Asian recipes out there have a strong mise en place focus. Here, for example, I'm chopping up my onions as finely as possible because it's going to be in my filling for those wontons. Cabbage, you got to wash it before you cut it, folks. You don't want no surprises when you cut into it. I've got a batch of bean sprouts actually off to the side. You definitely want to rinse those off and dry them as well. Coming together here, we'll work on the filling. Have those wonton skins at the ready because bringing this filling together is going to be fairly fast. Less than 3 minutes. I think that this is probably one of the fastest mixes I've ever come up with. So in the bowl, we have ground beef. We'll use white pepper, Chinese 5-spice, kosher salt, ginger garlic puree, and we also have the finely minced onion. Not much going in here, folks. It's very easy and simple to do. Now, keep in mind, the ginger and garlic, I pureed it together. It just made sense because I don't want little bits of, you might have an uncut piece of garlic or you might have a chunk cut of ginger that might ruin it. So puree it. Makes it easier. The onions going in as small as possible because we are going to boil these wontons at the end. And something to keep in mind when you take a look at how much Chinese 5-spice and white pepper I've written, it's the absolute minimum because these 2 spices alone can actually either make you or break you. They're strong. Chinese 5-spice should kiss for flavors. It should not attack you for no other better way of explaining it. The white pepper is very common in Asian cuisine. You can easily go to the dollar store, drop a $1.25, whatever they're going for. It's not that expensive. So hit up those dollar style stores and save yourself some money, especially when ingredients are going through the roof lately. So now that I've got everything in that one bowl, we are going to start mixing. I'm actually going to squish this in my hand because we're dealing with onion and the spices in a powder form. I definitely want to make sure this is mixed well as best as possible because I want everything to come together as evenly as I can. This will come together fairly quickly for you, actually. I probably didn't spend, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. It doesn't take long. And that's what I love about wontons because filling shouldn't be complicated. You want a lot of flavor, and I really believe that this takes the cake. So at this point, I'm noticing that the spices are no longer seen, so I've got this mixed very well. The onions are all through the ground meat, and I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. Now we're on to making them. So take that wrapper, just like dumplings. We're going to use water. We're going to wet the edges, because that's going to create the glue we need to seal up the mixture. Now I'm taking a pinch of meat, probably ½ ounce, ¾ ounce, possibly can be an ounce, but I wouldn't go more than maybe ¾ of an ounce. And we're having the dumpling skin come together, grouped, so we can pinch it right there at the base, but don't pinch it too much because you might actually pinch it open. And these will make about 36 to 40, sometimes 45 wontons. So keep the mixture in the middle. You'll have an easier time sealing those wontons. And if you keep the filling minimal, you'll have much more wontons. Now we're working towards the bulk of the soup. I have here a variety of mushrooms. I have 3 that I chose. I know with the cost of food lately, it's been wicked crazy. You don't have to go fancy schmancy. I know, oh my God, oyster mushrooms in my area are averaging $6 to $10 a pound. Screw that. Go ahead and just use white mushrooms or just use the baby portobello mushrooms. You're still going to have the same effect. You're going to still have that awesome goodness in that bowl. Now I've added a pinch of white pepper. I use MSG. You can't avoid MSG if you're using mushrooms. MSG is naturally occurring in mushrooms. Just like if I were working with tomatoes or Parmesan cheese, MSG is naturally occurring. But as far as MSG and kosher salt is concerned, that's your decision. We don't have any issues using MSG in our home. Never had a problem with it. So definitely consider what's best for you. Now we're roasting these mushrooms off in the pan, but I don't have any oil in here. I actually don't want oil, but I am going to use a little white wine, about 4 ounces, give or take. It's a $10 special. Don't use the good wine. You don't want to ever cook with really good wine. White wine here, pretty cheap. Little goes a long way, but it goes so good with the mushrooms. Oh my God. So we're making sure that the mushrooms are constantly moving. So that means don't walk away. Have your mise en place nearby. Like I've got my cabbage here, all set, ready to go. I've got my bean sprouts. Look how white they are. Wicked fresh, folks. You want to have everything at the ready because this is going to come together less than 6.5 minutes. This really does come together fast. And that's the whole key element of mise en place. Have everything prepped ahead. So after about 2 to 3 minutes of cooking the mushrooms, we can add the cabbage. Now, we're dealing with vegetables that have a lot of water, naturally occurring water. The cabbage itself, we're using Napa. And through the cooking process, we do want to keep turning the food in the pan. I want that heat to be distributed evenly. It's very important. And one of the cool things you're going to see about this cabbage is you're going to see the color become a little bit brighter in green. It's so pretty. I use that as an indicator of when I can start adding other ingredients. I'm only going to cook the cabbage part maybe halfway because we still have a few other ingredients we're going to add to the pan. And mind you, no oil. It's on medium-high heat right now. I'm looking at garlic next going in. Now, I use more than what I wrote down. I'm very garlic happy. Adjust the garlic to your liking. This is the black vinegar going in. This has a tart, savory element with a very subtle sweet to it. It goes so good with the cabbage. Oh my God. I had some cabbage earlier and I dipped it in that vinegar. Like I'm salivating just talking about it right now. It is so good. definitely find that, folks. It does really make this dish sing. And only seconds later, we definitely want to start considering the bean sprouts. I've got the cabbage at the halfway point, 3/4 of the way point right now. I see some green in there looking beautiful. And here are the bean sprouts going in. Now, same thing with the bean sprouts. We're talking water. So keep the product moving. And as you'll see through the cooking process, the bean sprouts will go from this beautiful bright white to a subtle pearl color if you are constantly moving the food around. We don't want to overcook this. There's nothing I hate more than an overcooked bean sprout that gets stuck in my tooth. Oh, I'm not a happy camper. So definitely stay at the stove. This is something that we definitely want to make sure we're incorporating as evenly as possible. And you'll see in the pan, the juices coming from the vegetables have come together. That's flavor enhancement right there. So, time for a little exercise. We're going to throw in some oyster sauce. I've got a few tablespoons going in. It is thick. This stuff, the stuff I buy has to be refrigerated, so there's no way of getting around it, really. That's okay. And the next ingredient, we're dealing with the Chinese cooking wine, or Shaoxing. That's a whole different flavor than the white wine. Very important for this dish. It's amazing. It's why I don't even have to add additional MSG or kosher salt to this. I only needed a pinch for the mushrooms. But the cooking wine will have its own salt element. So we've really found beautiful ways of controlling how much sodium is actually going in here. There's not a lot in that oyster sauce because we didn't put more than 2 to 3 tablespoons. So we are at that point. Get the stock on the stove. I have homemade beef stock here in a separate pot. Get it boiling so you can cook your noodles in there. Once they're cooked, take them out, put them in your soup bowls. They're going to cook fast. Usually the thinner noodles are what's going to cook wicked fast for you. So this is another, don't walk away, stay put, keep your eyes out, because you definitely want to make sure you're getting them out in enough time. So put those noodles in the soup bowl. Now we need another pot on high heat. We want to boil the wontons. So it's about 4 to 6 minutes roughly. It's going to depend on the kind of stove you have. You could possibly get this done in 3 to 5. It's going to depend on how much filling you have. And you'll start seeing them floating to the top. And at that point, you want to pull them. They're going to start showing wrinkles in the dough. It's really, really pretty. So start spooning up your material into your soup bowls, folks, because this is going to come together. And it's going to be wonderful. This came out so good, I think I had to make another batch, if I remember correctly. I had to do a whole other batch because it just wasn't enough. So here we are. We're looking at the beef wonton noodle soup. I've dressed it with some chili oil, fresh chili, scallions. I also love this as a salad application or with fresh vegetables here. I even splashed a little bit more chili oil and black vinegar for that. Please try this recipe. Thank you so much for watching.